Our speaker today is Dr. Karen Menendez Coller, who has been Executive Director of Centro Hispano of Dane County since 2013. Centro is the largest organization in Dane County with a mission focusing on holistically fostering a thriving Latino community in Wisconsin. An article just appeared about her in Know Your Madisonian in last Saturday's Wisconsin State Journal. She's going to tell us about the proactive role that Centro Hispano of Dane County is taking in building resilience in our community in collaboration with partners across the county. We look forward to your presentation, and we have made a contribution to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund as a way to say thanks for speaking with us today. And we'll have questions that people have submitted earlier after the presentation, as there is time, and then also Dr. Menendez Coller has agreed to stay a few minutes after the program to answer any individual questions you may have. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Hi, great. So thank you, President Andrea. It's always a pleasure to come back to Rotary. I think the last time I was here, I want to say maybe it was 2 years ago, presenting on some information on the state of Latinos in Wisconsin. But I love that introduction because I think what we do at Centro is really try to build resilience in our community. And nothing could be a better example than the partnership that we developed with the Wisconsin Humanities Council. And Dina Ortzel, the executive director, is here, who has been an incredible partner in this work. I firmly believe that there's many ways to build resilience in community. And a really wonderful way to do that is by engaging everybody to understand our community, support our community, and back our community. And so today I was asked to come and present a little bit about policies that have been impacting the Latino community recently. I wanted to put it in the context of some of the stories that have been on exhibit as part of this Immigrant Journeys exhibit that's touring statewide, because I think it's important to humanize a lot of the issues that you hear about in the media. And I am most interested in the questions that have been submitted, so I'm going to try to go stay within time so that we have enough time for a discussion. But I just really wanted to thank Dina, and I wanted to thank the partnership for moving things forward. And so with that, I also wanted to start with this slide because I know Dr. Armando Ibarra came to present about Latinos in Wisconsin, and I really think that what is important for every Rotarian to realize is that our presentations should build on one another. Before I get started, I do want to acknowledge the incredibly important people in the room for me. There's a number of Latino leaders in the space that mean a lot to me. And I'll tell you why, because it's been a tough time and it's a tough year. And I've been incredibly thankful for the support of Shiva Bidar-Silaf, UW Health Chief Diversity Officer, Carla Garces from the Office of Civil Rights here at the city, Tania Ibarra, the board chair of the Latino Professionals Association, Sandy Morales, the CEO and president of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and somebody that's incredibly special to our community and incredibly special to me. And I want to acknowledge him publicly because Juan Jose, without you, we would not be here doing what we do. So thank you for everything. And so going back to this slide, I hope everybody remembers the Latino population is humongous in the state, and it's a 400,000 total statewide. About 27% is foreign-born. Here in the county of Dane, it's more around 45% that is foreign-born. Young, median age around 25, building families. 10% of all births are to Latino mothers statewide. So this is the future of our state, and if you want to see this, up front, go to any high school in Madison, and you'll see the diversity that we have there in our next generations. And so the first time I came here to Rotary, don't go too much in the weeds into this slide, but what I do want to point out is that there's a lot of conversations around poverty in our community. I'm a firm believer that poverty doesn't get at the root cause of what we need to do. It's not poverty, it's these concentrated barriers to opportunity that communities sometimes face that really poses a challenge to moving ahead. So that could be poverty, yes, segregation, language barriers, mobility limitations. I think you've spoken around transportation's limitations in the city here of Madison and ways that that needs to be improved. Housing, cost of burden, educational barriers, neighborhoods where there's a high concentration of youth and not enough adults to look up to and to emulate. Unemployment, those kinds of things. And when you look at these concentrated barriers to opportunities, that's when you see this map. This is a hot zone that's put out by the city of Madison. I really always have clung to this picture. This is a little dated, but the orange spots are where there's concentrated barriers to opportunities. Those are also the areas where communities of color lie, including the Latino community. Now, there are very important barriers to opportunities that are not included here, and those are those policy barriers that our families, that my families, face day in, day out since the election of 2016. And so that is a very politically charged topic to address sometimes. I think sometimes we get caught in the weeds on how to approach it, but what we need to do is really humanize it. And I have to tell you that the Wisconsin Humanities Council, through their Working Lives project, has found a brilliant way to do that. And that is by telling the stories of ordinary Wisconsinites, their day in and day out, their lives as workers, as how they're creating the foundation to the state. When Dina approached me about wanting to do a collaborative project, it couldn't have been more serendipitous. We were thinking about this with our board of directors because we knew that to change the status of Latinos in Dane County and in the state, there needed to be a greater understanding about the needs of our communities from a very human perspective. We're more than just numbers. We're your neighbors. We're your friends. We're working, we're living, we're thriving, and we want to be acknowledged as such. Not so much in the shadows, but way out in the community. And so I'm going to start with the story of Mario. There were some beautiful pictures and beautiful excerpts that were done in partnership with Bill Berry and Gary Porter, two exemplary individuals. The exhibit is now on display at the library right here in downtown, and I invite you to visit it. We're planning another exhibit at Madison College, the South Madison campus. Mario is one of the individuals that we decided to showcase. He decided to showcase. Each of the 6 members that have been put forth as part of this exhibit, trying to humanize the immigrant experience, are individuals that have been so connected to Centro and have been wanting an outlet to voice their story and put their face forward. And so I'm incredibly proud that he got this opportunity to do that. Mario's originally from Honduras. You hear a lot about that in the news. He loves rock music. He came to the interview with his girlfriend of many years, who's very committed to. And when he was back in Honduras, he was very involved with his church. He wanted to really make a better life for himself, and that's why he decided to come here to Wisconsin. He's incredibly committed to his community. He started working in dairy farms in Waunakee, and now he's a herdsman in the forest. He's been there for a long time, and he considers the family that he works with like his own, and they consider him to be his own family as well. He says that he believes that if everybody believes in God, that the human experience will be better and that everything will be good. So that's what he clings to. Mario's story is important because the dairy industry, as you know, is huge in the state of Wisconsin. $43 billion every year. Half of that community that is working in the dairy industry is Latino. Half of the community reflects Mario's experience. And one of the biggest challenges is making sure that that community of workers is accepted and it's also safe. With all the fear of ICE in Wisconsin, it's created a huge problem and concern. One of the industries that have been backing and supporting our community the most are the agricultural industry and the dairy industry, because they want to make sure that these individuals that are family members to them are safe. A bill that is right now making its way through the legislature, well, we're hoping it will, is a driver's license for all bill. There's really strong support for it to be a bipartisan bill. And what we want to do is we want to advocate for the business community to speak out, to push forward and say that this is incredibly useful, because it will not only be beneficial for agriculture and insurance industry here in the state to create individuals that are safe when they're going to work, but it will really help sustain individuals like Mario that are trying to make their way and have a life here. So here in Dane County, we've been very vocal about creating a universal driver's card for everybody. Centro, Hispano, working with United Way and a number of different partners, have put forward a recommendation that there should be a driver's card for individuals that are working across the state, including people like Mario. And statewide, Kids Forward and Voces de la Frontera put out a report about the cost benefits to this. There is ginormous amount of money that could be made if 30,000 Wisconsinites that do not have a driver's license right now could receive one, and then they could have safety in living their lives day to day. And so it's an incredible opportunity for us to support individuals like Mario. So that's policy number one that I wanted to touch on right now. There are a lot of myths that are out there about the Latino community, that there's a crisis, that we really need to do something about it. Why do we have to create these benefits in Wisconsin? Why do these people need a driver's license? Why do they need to feel like they're rooted here? Why don't they just go back home? I want to tell you that these are a couple of graphs that are never spoken about enough. The current administration won on this lie of a mass immigration wave coming into this country and fear for our communities. As you can see, the numbers of undocumented immigrants has gone down since 2005. Border apprehensions have gone down, undetected unlawful entries have gone down, and apprehensions for Mexican citizens in particular, what you hear about a lot, have gone down. So there is no crisis. These are just people like all of us that want to come to the state, that want to contribute, that want to have a better life, and that want to create the foundation of Wisconsin and so many other places here in this country. Another lie they hear a lot about is that undocumented immigrants, don't pay taxes, and then they're going to end up really draining the system. In fact, immigrants are contributing billions of dollars to Social Security. And because they don't have a Social Security number, they will never reap the benefits of those dollars. So they are supporting a system that is supporting all of us, and they will never benefit from it. This is an article that was published in The Atlantic. When you look at the use of social service benefits, the non-citizen population actually accesses these services far less than those that are naturalized. That's another issue that's come up recently. This new public charge law that our immigrant community is draining the system, that we actually need to be mindful of who becomes a citizen. If you're a legal permanent resident and if you use social services, maybe you shouldn't become a citizen because you're going to be a potential drain to the system. That is not true. So when you see in the current president's website, claims like this, that to protect the benefits of American citizens, immigrants must be financially self-sufficient. I say that happens day in and day out in the working lives of everybody in our community. And we need to be more mindful of understanding the information that's put out there and what's truth and what is not. This new public charge law that I spoke about that is going to limit who becomes a citizen based on their use of social services is going to affect millions of immigrants. And it's going to affect the future of young children who are just trying to grow and establish themselves in this country. One such family is Jennifer, who is also somebody else that we portrayed as part of this exhibit in partnership with the Wisconsin Humanities Council. Jennifer is from Colombia, has two beautiful daughters. She has been involved in Centro for about 7 years now. She came here as a legal permanent resident, and because she uses social services, she is the exact example of who the system says should not become a citizen. Now, what's ironic is that Jennifer actually wants to become a community health worker. She's a certified doula. She provides a lot of services in the community, and she does incredible outreach to make sure the health and wellness of our families is secure. She just wants to create a better life. When you think about these faces, like Jennifer, like Mario, you have to think about the impact that these laws have in the future of this community. This isn't really validated substantially right now, but there have been some studies. This is one that came out of Harvard recently that says that in the long term, there might be a significant increase in preterm births associated with all these stressors that have been put on our community because of the Trump administration. I know you've heard a lot about stress in the community and how that might impact outcomes of pregnancy with previous speakers. That could also have an impact on our community if we're not mindful of how we do things now. All right, so policy issue number 3 that I really wanted to get to is this issue of in-state tuition. This is another important one for Wisconsin that we all need to be mindful of. As you may or may not know, institution for Dreamers, students that are DACA or undocumented, is not possible. That means that for a number of youth in our community, they need to pay out-of-state tuition. That's between $40,000 and $45,000. It doesn't matter if you have gone to high school your entire life here. It doesn't matter if you may be a citizen and your parents are not. You would still need to pay out-of-state tuition. Now, I know Bucky's Tuition Promise was announced fairly recently, and there was a lot of celebration around this. I was happy, but I was also sad, because a lot of the youth that we work with at Centro will never be eligible for this as it stands written right now. And so what is DACA? I wanted to make sure and refresh everybody's memory. DACA is a legal tool that allows the government to defer the removal of young undocumented immigrants. So these are individuals that are called Dreamers. They have come here as a young age. They've grown up here in America, and this is the only country that they've called home. They're part of your community. They're in our high schools. They're everywhere. What DACA does, it prevents removal, but it also provides an opportunity for employment and a Social Security card that they can use. And so it's a big step in the right direction. One of these individuals is Gilberto. He's another person that that was part of this exhibit that we have. And Gilberto is absolutely beautiful. He's a wonderful young man. His dad was a dentist. His mom was a business owner back in Mexico. And when they came here, they're doing the hard work of now, dad is a custodial worker and mom owns her own salon. Gilberto is one of many siblings. He wants to be a doctor. He has been involved in Centro since his years in high school. He now works at Centro, and he works at 2 other places. He's incredibly committed, incredibly bright, and he's really, really the future. So Gilberto has to pay out-of-state tuition. No matter how hard he works, because of these policies that are in place, he will never be allowed to go through the UW-Madison system and pay in-state tuition as the law stands right now. And I think when you look at a face like him and the promise that he may have for the future, there's something about it that is not acceptable for me. And that's where we need your voice to speak out as much as possible. So here at the university, there are some that are speaking out, including some faculty members. This is a picture of Cindy Chang, who had been advocating very strongly last year for deferred action students to receive in-state tuition. To summarize again, there is a reciprocity that facilitates Minnesota residents over Wisconsin residents to get in-state tuition. So that means that if a student is DACA in Minnesota, where Dreamers receive in-state tuition, they will receive in-state tuition here. But Gilberto, who grew up here, came at a very young age, had the choice to go out of state and get a full ride, chose to stay at UW-Madison because he loves this place, he loves the state, and he loves this community, and will have to pay out-of-state tuition. If you're a citizen, but your parents are documented, you're not eligible for reduced tuition through the UW-Madison system. It's not the same across all schools, but that's how it is in UW-Madison. And Wisconsin high school students, as I mentioned, need to meet this strict immigration criteria to classify for in-state tuition. So these are a lot of complicated policies that are out there. I think when you think about the media right now, you hear a lot about ICE raids and detention centers and separation of the border. All of that is happening. But in addition to that, there are some policies that are in place within our state, within here in Wisconsin, that are failing to allow our community to thrive in the way that they need to. In-state tuition should be allowed for all young people that have contributed and want to become a part of the state. A driver's license should be a benefit to all of us because it creates safety on the roads and allows parents of young kids and families or individuals like Mario to be able to go to work and contribute to a growing economy. When you think about public charge, even those words affect our families. They're incredibly traumatizing when a young mother of 2 kids, where being a mom is such an important status for her, is being told that it's not right to support her, even if she wants to live and grow her family here. And so at Centro, we've thought a lot about this. We've gone through years of feeling down, years where we needed to foster our dreams and our hopes, create action. This past year, we've decided that we're not preparing for the worst, but we are going to prepare for the best. So it's the year of hope, what we call esperanza. And for us, you hear a lot of advocates in the community advocating for Latinos. For us, that resistance, that advocacy is really woven in the idea of fostering hope, of creating partnerships to change perceptions about our community, of coming and doing presentations in spaces such as this, and hoping that every single one of you will go into your networks and speak about in-state tuition. Did you know that half of the dairy industry is supported by immigrants, and we don't have driver's license for them to safely get to work? Did you know anything about this public charge law? What should we do about it? Because to change things and to collectively allow my community to heal, and for myself personally to heal as an immigrant from El Salvador, I need for you to speak out. It's no longer enough for us to do it alone. It's incredibly important to do it together. This is a quote from Jessica, who's a PhD student doing some work at Centro. And she literally says to me, "Speak out, Karen. It is absolutely essential to our survival and more importantly to our healing." And so I hope you will do that. I want to make sure that you see the faces of the other 6 individuals that are portrayed as part of the exhibit. I took this from the website, so it's not the best quality. But Gilberto's on the left. Jennifer is after him. Tanya's next to her. Panfilo, who is a farmer and who's now vending at UW Health, is next to her. Oh, gosh, I forgot her name. Cynthia from Milwaukee. And then Mario's on the right. And so these are amazing individuals. The exhibit is traveling statewide. As I mentioned, it is currently at the library, and there are some other sites where it's going to be hosted. But if you go to the website for the Wisconsin Humanities Council, you will learn more about that as well. And so I leave you with that. This is our vision. The Dane County will be a community where Latino families can aspire upward to reach their personal goals and dreams because they feel engaged and strengthened with the tools for success. And we firmly believe that this is something that we can do together. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for that presentation. We do have some questions that were submitted ahead of time. One is, how has the work of your own organization, Centro Hispano, changed in the past 2 years? What's the effect on you and your staff and your organization, your volunteers?
Yeah, so I don't think I said this, but I'm originally from El Salvador, from Central America. Since I was 5 to age of, I always say, I think it was when I was 13, our last trip that we made. But my family immigrated up and down the coast. My dad always loved America. He wanted us to have a better future. And so we finally settled in Los Angeles. There's a lot of trauma that happens when you have that immigrant history, and every single one of our staff member at Centro, well, I'd say like maybe 95% has that immigrant history. And so when all these issues start coming up, it's very personal, because we always say the community is actually the staff that is at Centro working there with the community. It's weighed a lot on us. I think our mission is to focus on our young people, our youth, because at the core they're the future. As you saw from the age in the community, it's fairly young. We focus on strengthening families with remarkable wraparound supports. And I say they're remarkable because I can't believe the work that we do with the capacity that we have. We have the only culturally competent AODA program for adults here in Dane County. And I can clearly say that because I know some of the other services in the county are not up to par where they need to be. We have the only ACA navigator that's bilingual in the entire county. We have the only Spanish-speaking accredited immigration rep in the entire county. And at the same time, we do a tremendous amount of community engagement because we want people to realize that they can come to Centro as their home. When all these issues started happening, immigration affects all of that. It affects the safety of our kids in the schools. It affects the trauma that parents bring forward when they come to sit down with our case manager. It's not only about the issue anymore, but it's about the complexities that underlie that. And it affects how comfortable our community feels in coming out. We are incredibly resilient. It's a safe zone at Centro. It's amazing the magic that happens in that space, but it has affected everything. Centro is now part of a multitude of collaborations that I wish we never had to be a part of. When it comes to legal defense, emergency responses, a legal collaborative that raises dollars in partnership with the Madison Community Foundation for our legal defense fund. My gosh, the Dane County Law Enforcement Collaborative. I check in with law enforcement representatives monthly as part of this collaborative that's based at United Way. Tremendous amount of work and tremendous amount of trauma that we face day in and day out. So that might have been more than you needed.
Well, that was very good. How will the how do you think the crackdown on immigration will affect the ability, or is already affecting the ability of Wisconsin farmers and employers to find and hire enough staff to meet their workforce needs?
Well, it depends on, personally, I think it depends on where things go from here. We had our first, I want to say this, official raid, we want to say, last fall. And I think that was a wake-up call for a lot of the those that are in the agricultural industry and dairy industry to really get focused on this issue. When half of your workforce is immigrant and they are like family to you, you want to stand up and defend them. And so I would say we're at an incredible risk if some of these policies aren't in place to make sure that our families are secure, to prevent anything from happening in the future if ICE were to come and do a massive raid in our farms.
Okay, well, that leads to another of our questions. Can you go into a little more detail on how the recent raids by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, have impacted the Dane County community, and have any of our own area families with children been left without their breadwinners? If so, how is that impacting them?
Yeah, it has. As part of, in 2017, Dane County and the city of Madison were proactive, and they created the Immigrant Assistance Fund. So the fund is meant to support wraparound needs when there is a case of family separation, deportation defense with now there's two, pro bono attorneys in the county that are providing deportation defense for free, and a number of other services. Oh, this is tough. But I think ICE has created a tension in the community that is really, really hard to even understand. Fabiola Hamden was one of the positions that was created after the election when the Immigration Fund came to be as well. And she would tell you that families are being affected here in our county. And so when you think about this being an issue that's happening somewhere else, don't, because this is actually a state where mixed status families are prevalent. And so you have communities where dad may be deported and mom stays. Just right now before I came here, I was talking to Fabi about a woman who is seeking legal status. She was at Centro with her daughter. The father just got deported last week. And so this is affecting families every single day. And as much as we can try to get ahead of it and prepare as much as we can with the right legislation and policies that will secure our community.
Okay. And what would life for Latinos look like in Dane County if immigration reform were to happen, granting undocumented immigrants a documented status? And what will it take to make that happen? What does a community have to do? What do we have to do?
You need a vote. If you believe in the of human dignity and the humanity of what we all should stand for, and that we are no different from you. If you go to this exhibit, if you read the excerpts, if you see the joy and beauty and optimism in the faces of all these individuals, you realize that the possibilities are endless. I think I put in the slide 400,000 Latinos. Estimates are hard to come by, but I would say about 10% may be undocumented. There's a big potential for what we can do here in Wisconsin if our community felt accepted, it felt supported, and it felt like it was part of the future of the state. So it would be an absolute dream. And in many ways, I would love to work myself out of a job. So.
Okay, well,
thank you. I should say Dina has these beautiful handouts. If you want to go, they're right outside, right, Dina? So table in the back. Table in the back. Go on ahead and pick one up for more information. Thank you.
Well, Karen, I hate to wish anybody, unemployment, but thank you very much for that presentation. Our speaker will be here for a few minutes if you have any questions after. And don't forget the volleyball tickets. You can come up and bid on those right now. We are adjourned.